Catch up on all the live shows right here on africatechradio.com.
Ariwo kọ́ ni music yo, empty barrel ló máa ń pariwo. Ariwo kọ́ ni music yo, ẹnu ò ṣe. Ariwo kọ́ ni music yo, empty barrel ló máa ń pariwo. Ariwo kọ́ ni music yo. Ariwo kọ́ ni music yo.
You're listening to Tony's Tech Side.
Welcome to my side of tech. I'm Tony. Yes. Oh, man. I share stories and experiences about technology in Africa, and that is what makes this the greatest show. I remember that. This is the greatest show. Because at the end of the day, life itself is a story shared with oneself and with others. You're asking, what is happening here? So I'm here every weekday from 9 a.m. to midday GMT +1. And I share stories literally about technologies, experiences also about technology in Africa. And it could go anywhere, right? It could literally go anywhere from word stuff to like really cool stuff, to inspirational stuff, to things where you can actually learn. There are like 3 segments of this show. One is where I motivate you, like I inspire you to start your day, start your morning, start your week. And then the other one is where I let you into the wonderful things that have happened in the past. And also I teach you something, like one word. Learn one word per day. And when you're done with the whole year, right? You'd have learned, if you only, listened in once every week, you would have done nothing less than 50 in 1 year. So you know 50 new tech words. Last week was soft skill. This time last week actually was soft skill. Everyone's talking about soft skill. But what exactly is soft skill? Learn a word today, a word that's been thrown around. So when we dive into history and pick up the rubbles from history and try to make sense of it to see what's happening now in our world, we get into, a word that's been thrown around and we learn about that word and how to use it. Okay, so today, what word are we talking about? The word for today is artificial intelligence, AI, ChatGPT. A lot of people throw the word AI around. They're like, oh, they're using AI, but do you really know what AI is? Do you know what exactly it is? Like someone says, oh, AI, what is AI? And you're like, so when you, come on, man, come off it. Learn a tech word today. And then we'll delve into the gist, the juiciest stories in tech on the continent, concerning the continent, anything that concerns the continent, any gist that concerns Africa as a continent, either startups raising money or big things happening or people breaking records, or even just the regular news, regular day-to-day happenings on the continent. I've got you covered. I am your guy. So what stories will I be sharing today? The first story, it'll be a story of motivation, like I said. But today, I won't be sharing this story of motivation myself. I'll let Eriga, Lekon, Victor AD, all 3 from Nigeria, and Sauti Soul, the male group from, Eastern Africa, Kenya. They would help us today to motivate you. And trust me, this is your perfect Monday morning motivation packed into 3 songs and more than a double of that figure in number of persons that are on that track. If they don't get you motivated after you listen to these stretch of songs, I'm sorry, I can't motivate you. I just can't. And you need to find a way to also keep yourself motivated and inspired all through the week. I am Tony. Don't go anywhere at all. I'll return diving deep into history and what it tells about what has happened today in the world of tech.
You're listening to Tony's Tech Side.
Oh yes, so we're back and welcome. If you just joined in, this is Tony's Tech Side. I share stories and experiences about technology in Africa. And I just motivated you, right? That's what I just did. So motivation can be anything. It can go from your favorite song to your favorite person. And these things, persons, situations motivate us, in very, very different ways. But at the same time, it's, to achieve something, right? So if you are a fan of Eriga or Lekon or Victor AD or Sauti Sol, who aim at different things, or even Cobhams, right? If you're a fan of Cobhams, you would know that these are like different levels of motivation. They speak to different audiences, but they're all still motivating, right? They're all trying to make people get certain things, like get up and get things done. Like, good morning, my neighbor. What are you doing? Are you feeling okay? Like the whole idea is for you to get up and get something done. So let's dig deep into the rubbles of the past as we get into what today was in tech a few years back. And we're starting with January 15th. So just to set the record straight, today is January 16, right? And we're starting with January 15. And this is way back as 1968. And a certain Ralph Baer, generally considered the father of the video game industry as a whole. This reminds me of Microsoft and Activision, that deal that happened. Now, this person is considered as the father of the video game industry. He, on the 15th of January, applied for a patent on a TV game system that he designed. And the patent eventually led to the Magnavox Odyssey, the first home video game machine. Now we're all doing Xbox Series and things like that. But Ralph Baer is also well known for many other products like the electronic game called Simon. Now, I'm doing January 15th because I usually don't go on air on weekends. I only do this Mondays to Fridays, right? So January 15, 2001, Wikipedia, a free wiki content encyclopedia, goes online. So that was just yesterday. So it's a door-to-door encyclopedia. Salespeople also mourn while bookshelves everywhere suddenly have more room for other books. So this is like, me trying to crack a joke. I'm sure you didn't get it. So when I was in secondary school, there used to be this very popular encyclopedia. Yes, you see encyclopedia A, B, C, D, to Z, and 1, 2, 3, like that, volumes. And I used to take time out to read. People say, oh, does anyone read an encyclopedia? I used to read an encyclopedia when I was in secondary school. Maybe that's why I turned out this way, but, no regrets at all. So when I finally got a phone and I found out that the same kind of information I found on that encyclopedia in the library back then in school, I could find them on my phone, and I could move from one to one to one. Like, it could literally be like a thread. Like, you're looking for this thing, and then you find another very interesting. Just click on it. Even before you click on it, when you get your cursor to it, it shows you like a summary, and you're like, oh, this is interesting. And then you click on it, and it tells you another thing. You click on it, and you keep going. That's like an endless encyclopedia volume. It just keeps going. That's what Wikipedia is about. And I've had a couple of shows with persons that work in Wikimedia Foundation. That's the foundation backing Wikipedia. And those who are connected to, especially volunteers who are working, sweating, and ensuring that this kind of information is open and it's free for everyone to not just consume, but contribute to. So if you just go on our website, www.africatechradio, and type Wikipedia, right, you will see all the interviews and all the discussions we've had about Wikipedia, right? So this was 2001 when it went live. So from 2001 to 2023, you do the maths. Most of you are older than Wikipedia, but it has more information than, it has more knowledge than you do, but please, let's move on. January 16, 2003. Yes, so we had the first space shuttle ever to be launched. The Space Shuttle Columbia. It took off for mission STS-107, and this mission would prove to be its final one as the Columbia disintegrated 16 days later on re-entry. So just to get the facts right, this Space Shuttle Columbia was famous for being the first space shuttle ever to be launched when it went on its mission STS-1. And then later on, right, today in the year 2003, that's when it took off for its final mission, right? The final one. And then when it re-entered into Earth, it disintegrated 16 days later when it entered into Earth. So count 16 days from now. That's when the famous entry was done. And that was the final mission for the space shuttle Columbia. And today in 1969, so just a little, just spice it up a little bit. Yesterday, January 15, 1969, had something to do with the Civil War in Nigeria, and I would just, end it there, right? And maybe later on, before I also round up the show, I will talk about the relationship between that and the Armed Forces Remembrance Day in Nigeria. So on 16th, 1969, Soviet spacecraft Soyuz 4 and Soyuz 5 performed the first ever docking of manned spacecraft in orbit, the first ever transfer of crew from one space vehicle to another. And it was also the only time such transfer was accomplished with a spacewalk. Now they just do the transfer without the need for a spacewalk. So let me explain this. So, when you take a spaceship out of the Earth, at first, as you go, that's how you come back. You go in one spaceship, you come back in that same spaceship. Yeah, you're not changing spaceships, like moving from one spaceship to another spaceship. But then the Russians in 1969, on this day, successfully performed the docking of a manned spacecraft in orbit in space. So 4 was there, 5 went up to meet 4, and then they had like a link, right, that was created, like they put a certain kind of roof, a connector. That's more like it's a connector. And this person here had to walk from their own spaceship into the other spaceship. So they transferred humans from one to another. They had some little issues there, right? But then it was the first time it was successfully done. They had tried it before with Soyuz 3 and it didn't work, right? Failed mission. But then they tried it with 4 and it was fine. And I think later on Apollo did it, but then it wasn't exactly the way this happened. This was a spacewalk, right? That's what it's called, a spacewalk. So it means like you literally walking in space without, the cover up and down. So when Apollo did it later on, it was more like the 2 spaceships will come together and form one spaceship. And then people will just need to move around and then they'll disconnect the spaceships and then, move away from each other. But then this time, that technology to ensure that the 2 spaceships could connect wasn't there yet. So they had to create a connector between 2 spaceships, and people had to walk without the covering, right? Like they just literally walked into the other ship, and I think that's the only time it was ever done. It's too risky to do right now, and if you have the technology to actually just merge 2 ships together, and move people without the need for the spacewalk, then why not do it, right? So this is everything for now. So just before I go into the gist for today, there are a lot of juicy stories today in the tech space, but the one that I think stands out for me is, the trends that Google recently set up for Nigeria's election. Nigeria's election is just in about 40 days or so. No, what am I saying? Less than a month. Yes, less than a month actually, because this is middle of January. Yeah. So in preparation for the 2023 presidential elections, Google developed a brand new website called the Nigeria Elections Trends Hub, and you can find it under the Google Trends, right? So when you go to trends.google.com, one of the things you see there, especially if your location is in Nigeria, right? One of the things you see there would be 2023 Nigeria presidential election. I think this is really good, right? See the bright side. And I think this should be built upon, improved upon. So it wouldn't just be presidential elections alone, but it would be everything, right? Presidential elections, governorships and gubernatorial elections across the states, as specific as local government elections and things like that. I hope we get to that point. And with what I'm seeing, I think this was launched on the 1st of December 2022, right? And it has the presidential candidate search interest for the past 30 days. February 25th, 2023, Nigeria will elect its next president, and Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu from All Progressive Congress APC has right now, as I'm looking at it, 42% of the searches on Google. Peter Obi is next from the Labour Party LP with 28% of all the searches. Atiku Abubakar, the People's Democratic Party PDP candidate, has 27% of searches. Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, the New Nigeria People's Party NNPP, has 3% of the searches, and the list goes on, from a certain professor and all that. So these are literally the top 4 based on search interest. Note, search interest. I'm choosing my words very carefully. And then also for vice presidential candidates, the search interest too has, this actually literally just changed. This literally just changed because I looked at it just a few minutes before I came on air. So it has 33% as Kashim Shettima of the APC, 32% for Yusuf Dati Baba Ahmed, the Labour Party, 30% of all searches, Ifeanyi Okowa, the People's Democratic Party PDP, Isa Hamisu 3%, Action People's Party, and a certain Bishop Isaac has about 2% of the searches, and the list goes on like that. So they're also on this trends table is a look at the most searched and trending searches for the top candidates. And according to the regions too, there's really no, but based on what I'm seeing, based on the number of states. So I think Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has more states based on search interest in Nigeria. And next would be Atiku Abubakar, and the other would be Peter Obi. So I think also that lots of people are more interested in searching for things related to Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. This is where, I have something to say. So this doesn't exactly give the questions they're asking, because I think it's just surface level, but it just shows who people are searching for the most and whom people are searching for the least, right? And these searches could be negative, they could be positive, but it also shows a set of searches, what people are searching for in relation to the candidates. While this is good, I think it's not deep diving, and it is not exactly the show of what will happen during the elections. I think within this week, I would also share the numbers based on the number of people who registered online, the number of young people. Clearly, 18 to 13, there are more persons in Nigeria voting. The population, they have more people who are 18 to 13, right? And then followed by those who are 30 plus to, I think, 40 or 50 or so, and then 50 to 60 and whatnot. So I'll share those numbers later on this week, and then also share my thoughts around how prepared I think technologically INEC is getting with the BVAS and everything in Nigeria, and then also about how smooth the process can be when it comes to collection. We have over 5 million cards. I mean, voters card, permanent voters card, yet to be collected. And it says a lot about what will happen when the elections finally happen in Nigeria. Every time, I think, anytime we think of things that are going to happen, this song rings in my head. And I think this is just the best time to actually say that the land is green, and fingers crossed, all of the bad thoughts that have been, peddling, lots of people have been peddling about how, things may not exactly go right. I think things may go awry and so. I really believe in, everything that Tiwa Bello sings in the song when she says the land is green, because come February 2023, it has to happen. New leadership in Nigeria, and whatever comes out of this, that's what we're going to see later on. Stay on this side of tech with me. When I come back, I would give you the juiciest tech stories on the continent. Don't go anywhere.
The land is green, it's green. Oh, the land is green, it's green. Can't you see? The harvest is ready, 'cause the Lord of the harvest told me so. It's green for me. I thought it was over, thought you were done with me, but we're just beginning. Whoa, my life is a journey. I will walk with you.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to catch up on all the live shows right here on africatechradio.com.